Hey guys, I'm back out in the garage again, which means, you know what, I just came back with some more stuff. I was poking around on Craigslist and I saw somebody who was giving away stuff for free. And I figured, hey, free is good, so I gave him a call, and basically he was looking for a good home for some of his excess stuff. He's basically just trying to downsize a little bit. And I mentioned some ham gear and some amplifiers and some various stuff that just really didn't have too much appeal for me until he mentioned an Atwater Kent radio, which got my attention, and then he mentioned a vintage portable TV, which also got my attention. So I asked him if I could come over and take a look sometime, but unfortunately he said he was only available in the morning, and my work schedule this week does not allow me to get away in the morning. So I called up a friend of mine and mentioned it to him and thought, hey, maybe he could get away from work for a while and go take a look. Well, a few hours go by and my friend calls me back and says, hey, I talked to the guy and he said he'd be available early this evening. So he swung by, picked me up, and we went over. And long story short, here's what I came back with. So for one, this is a Mayfair tape deck. Actually, this is all kind of new to me because we got this stuff last night and I put it in the garage and it was dark and I really haven't looked at this stuff too close. I didn't even realize this was a Mayfair. He told me it was German. The only thing I know about tape decks is what I've seen you guys post online. And by you, I mean, let's see, I hope I don't get this wrong. Let's see, there's Dr. Cassette, there's a Cassette Master, Clyde Sight, and so on. Let's see, we also have a little Admiral radio. I imagine it's an All-American 5. In fact, we can verify that right now because there's a tube chart on the bottom. So yeah, we sure do have 5 tubes. Should be a quick little restoration, assuming don't have any open IF transformers or bad mica caps. Let's see. This I recognized right away when he pulled it out. Good old ICO model 324 RF generator. Very popular back in the day. I see these for sale all the time. Seems to be in decent condition. And this kind of surprised me. It looked like a little guitar amp at first, but no, it is not. It's a radio. Specifically, it's a Freed-Eisemann AM and FM radio in what looks to be a guitar amp cabinet. I have no idea if this is the original cabinet or not. It's in kind of rough shape. Well, let's see. The Freed-Eisemann Educator. I guess it must be. Let's do a little research on that. Pretty heavy. Must have a decent sized power transformer and speaker in there. Oh yeah, I can just make out the speaker. Let's see if I can get some light going there. He had a bunch of cats too, by the way, so a little bit of cat hair here and there. That's a nice looking speaker. So even though the cabinet's kind of a mess, this might actually be a decent radio. And now that I think about it, he did, I believe, say it was a pretty nice radio. And here's the TV. They may call these portable, but I don't know, not by today's standards. Let's see, it's a Motorola, I'm guessing 16-inch, probably late 50s. I think under the dust it's black on the cabinet and white up front. Let's see, there's a model on the back. 14p32, which I guess must mean it's 14-inch. Never worked on a portable Motorola set before, so could be interesting. I've got a couple Admirals and a friend dropped off a couple Zeniths, but never opened up a Motorola before. And finally, we have the Atwater Kent. It's a little rough, cabinet-wise, but I've seen worse, and I figure any Atwater Kent's got to be worth something. It's a pretty famous brand. But I was a little disappointed when I saw it. Not because the cabinet's beat up, but well, the knobs are missing, and I know these are kind of expensive knobs. And two, it's a Model 944, which is actually the last model they ever made, and I guess the cheapest they ever made. So what happened was Atwater Kent was known for making high-end stuff, but by 34, 35, when they made this, the Depression was in full swing, and people just weren't buying the expensive sets anymore, so they designed this really cheap model. So the main problem with this is it's only got 4 tubes. Got a Type 80 rectifier, a 2A5 audio output, and then 2 Type 57 tubes, I think, which are here and here. So no RF amp and not much of an IF stage. So what they did to compensate for that is some type of regeneration that goes on somewhere around here, and there should be an adjustments for it somewhere on the back. So from what I read online, that was a way to boost the gain at the expense of stability. That must be the control down there. So if you don't have that adjustment right, you get feedback and it starts howling pretty bad. On the other hand, it was the last Atwater Kent they ever made, so it has some historical significance and certainly some value. But like I said, it's a bit beat up, some veneer loss, some cracking. That doesn't bother me too much because it's on the back. That can be glued up. Not a big deal. Plus it's kind of cheap veneer anyway, so it's not too bad. And the front, honestly, it's not that bad. This could be glued down. Really, the only wood that's missing is that one little section right there in the middle. Grill cloth's got a bit of a tear, unfortunately. And of course, the 2 knobs are missing. I believe those are wood knobs, which tend to go for a premium. But hey, this stuff was all free, so who am I to complain about anything? Oh, a little later when I get the chance, when I'm done with work, I'll maybe clean these off and take a closer look, and I'll also do some research on this Freed-Eisemann. I did a little research online and discovered that it's kind of an interesting radio. It's a Freed-Eisemann Educator. So called because these were sold to schools. And a teacher would set this up in a classroom if, say, there was going to be something important on the radio, like maybe a president was going to give a speech or something. So that's why it's got this kind of ruggedized exterior with this Tolex coating and the handle on top. But what that also means is that supposedly this has some pretty good output power too. So it's meant to fill a large room so everybody could hear. So let's see what's inside. Okay. So 2 screws hold it in at the top, and there are pins at the bottom. We've got an antenna built into the back. I imagine that's for AM. And oh, that's that's quite a radio in there. Nice big beefy power transformer. And a pretty nice beefy speaker too. It's a Jensen. So looks like there's a field coil on there. Maybe a 10-inch speaker with the output transformer mounted on the frame. Let's see, there's a tube chart on the side. Let's see. Couple 6 AG5s and a 6C4, that's probably the local oscillator. 6 SG7, a couple, or rather a 6 SH7, three 6 SH7s, an SA7, 6L6 output, so yeah, it should have some pretty good output power. And 5U4 rectifier, 6T8 tube, that's probably a combo FM detector and AM detector. And what do you know, it's got an I tube, a 6U5. Tubes don't look quite right though. So this should be a 6L6, which looks about right for a glass type. Looks kind of fried. Yep, 6L6 GC. But that rectifier shouldn't look like a 5U4 to me. It's too small. Yep, somebody stuck a 5Y3 in there. That's not a good idea. This does not have anywhere near as much current carrying capability as a 5U4, which is much larger. It'd be like that size or bigger. Something else that seems kind of odd is I would expect something with that large of a power transformer and a 6L6 output and a 5U4 rectifier to have some pretty big filter caps. And I don't see any anywhere. Not on the other side of the transformer. So that's... Now, for sure the field coil and the speakers acting as a filter choke, I would imagine. But where the heck are the electrolytic capacitors in this radio? All I can see anywhere are tubes. Well, I suppose they must be under the chassis. Oh, I see. It's a little deceiving. The chassis at the back side is only about 1 inch high. At the front, it's more like maybe 3 inches thick. So this thing's at a pretty steep angle. So I bet there are some large filter caps underneath the chassis up front. So I think I will take this inside for a little closer inspection. See if we can get this chassis out and see what's underneath. The set's kind of grungy, so I brought it up here in the attic to work on. Plus, there's plenty of room up here. I got the knobs off the front easily enough. Just a little set screw to be loosened up on each knob. And looks like I need to take off a couple screws. And the chassis should come out. Unfortunately, the antenna on the back, the lead is soldered at both ends, so for now the back has to travel with the chassis. Speaker unplugs right here, so that should be it. Alright, now you can really see the angle on that chassis. Boy, is this thing dirty. So, let's see what's underneath. Okay, there are the filter capacitors. as I suspected, tucked underneath up here. Now, there is no service info available on this set. A couple of the people out there have them and have been looking for a couple of years, it seems, and nobody's got it. I also heard some speculation this may have been the very last radio that Freed-Eisemann ever made, which could account for the lack of service info. So I'm just going to have to wing it and hope that I can read the component values off these caps and just replace them with the same value. Shock mounts seem to be in good shape. The only thing I see right away that concerns me a bit, not having any service info, is this, what I presume is a canned ohm resistor down here. Quite often those do not have a value stated on them, and also quite often they're bad. So that could take a little guesstimating to see what value it should be. Otherwise, let's see what it is. 40 microfarad, 450 volt. Got plenty of these on hand, and I would suspect that I got most of these guys on hand, or all of these on hand as well. So what I'm thinking I'll do is check the tubes, put a proper rectifier tube in there, replace any other tubes that are bad, replace these two filter caps, and give this thing a try. Assuming I get some life out of it, then I'll see about replacing all the rest of the paper caps. As for the cabinet, well, assuming I get this radio to work, I think this could be my first adventure in Tolux repair. Right now, it's got electrical tape, it seems, around all the sides. Maybe it's original, but it seems unlikely. And then some of it is like a smaller alligator pattern, and some is a large. Hard to say if it's original or not. So what puzzles me is, so the two sides have a larger pattern, then on the front just the left side does. I can only find one picture online that looked like the whole set was this type of pattern. Good old cloth. Kind of beat up, but I'm sure I can take my liberties with replacing that with whatever I can find. I just popped the eye tube in my triplet tube tester. It's warmed up now, let's give it a try. It's not bad. I've seen brighter, but it's not bad. Let's see, here's the other position. That's certainly usable. Now I'm curious about that fried looking 6L6. I let the 6L6 warm up for about a minute, so let's see how it tests. Not bad. Not bad considering how fried it looks. That should certainly be usable. I spent a little time cleaning up the chassis and the tubes, and especially the dial glass. It's looking a lot better now. I also cleaned and lubricated the bearings on the tuning capacitor and the pulleys, so the tuning is working fairly smoothly now. Okay, so I have lots of sets to restore, and some of them are going to be pretty involved projects, I suspect, like the Predicta Holiday TV and the Predicta Tandem TV, projects that I suspect will take a couple months. But I also have a lot of simpler projects like that Admiral All-American 5 I showed earlier. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to spend one night a week, Friday night, working on what I hope will be one-night projects. And the rest of the time I'm going to spend on more elaborate projects. I also have a few outstanding projects to clean up, which I'll also work on Friday nights. So for example, for the last couple weeks I've been working on removing rust from that Brunswick radio and working on the cabinet. So there'll be a bunch of videos upcoming on that. But in between, I'm going to finish up some other radios I've been working on previously, and I want to work on this and that Admiral All-American 5. So I hope you guys approve of that plan, because that's what I think you're going to be getting. Hope you enjoyed this look at a Freed-Eisemann Educator radio and my other little recent finds.